In this episode, we'll be talking to Kevin Lavis from Crusader Charters. We will be discussing Kevin's life in fishing from boy to skipper, teaching on and off the boat, and what Crusader has to offer from their trips. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast.
Welcome to another Tuna Gear podcast. I'm Andy, I'm sat with Danny, and today we have Kev Lavis from Crusader Charters down in Plymouth. Thank you for coming on, mate.
Oh, thanks for having me.
No, I super appreciate it. Been out on your boat before. Came out with Dave Mordecai last year.
Yeah, it was an experience.
It was an experience, but it was a damn good trip as well, wasn't it? They ended up, they had that taupe as well, didn't they? Which you said was quite rare for...
Yeah, so Plymouth's not known for taupe, is it? It's known for pollock and conger, really.
So we were sort of having a conversation about taupe at that time, and then he managed to pull one out of the bag there and then, didn't he? It was
place gear.
Yeah, and it just turned into it was a very, very good trip. So the reason I reached out to you to come on is been on the boat, really enjoyed it. The second one was I saw one of your Facebook posts recently where you had put up about your customers, what can they expect at certain times of the year? Yeah. And me being me, and I just thought this is a perfect opportunity. Let's reach out and we can get you on the podcast just to have a talk about, what can your customers expect on the boat, what sort of fishing's on offer, and then push the business a little bit, and then obviously have a talk about you and see where it all came from, because you're obviously a very knowledgeable bloke about it. We were sat recently down in Plymouth at the tuna tagging thing, weren't we?
Yeah.
And as we were sat there talking, he knows everybody. Like he's like, that's so and so, that's so and so, this is so and so. I can tell from like your posts and stuff that you do that you're extremely passionate about what you do. It's not just a business or a paycheck for you. Like you are heavily invested about it. So how did fishing first creep into the bloodstream for you?
Well, I think it's like most people, it's the family thing, isn't it?
Dad fishing.
Yeah, grandparents and dad fishing, taking the kids out.
Always out of Plymouth?
Yeah, always out of Plymouth. Always had a small boat in the family. Spent most of my childhood thrown up over the side.
Oh, so you weren't a natural to sea then? This is something that's been hard earned?
Yeah, still get seasick now.
Really?
Yeah. If we've had a layup with the weather or something, I've been known to hang the head out the window as we're steaming out. And
do you have a way of dealing with that? Because some people have like the bands on their wrists, ginger nut biscuits. Would you literally just have a tactical stick out the window and just power on through?
Yeah, the latter.
Right, okay.
Pretty much. So I suppose the best example of that kind of thing is we've got a group from the Black Country that come down 16, 18 times a year, book us up, and particular trip where going out after a long layup and think we've got to go and blast out mid-channel somewhere, go out and try and find a bit of fish for them, and all the way out, head hanging out the window, feeling absolutely dog rough.
Because it gets you, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. If you let it, once it gets its claws into you, you've got a couple of options. You either just go, I can't do this, give up, close your eyes, lay down, and lose the day, or you can fight through it. It might take an hour, it might take two, but all it took that day was a 26-pound coalfish to come up. So I'm holding the net, knees on the deck.
Not being sick at the same time.
Almost had enough. Oh, absolutely. And this thing
being sick all over the coalfish.
This thing pops the surface in the net, and suddenly I feel a lot better.
That's a ginormous coalfish.
It's huge, yes. It's the biggest we've had. Yeah.
So sometimes perhaps the sit worked like a bit of chunking off the side. You actually brought the fish into it.
You chummed them in. Yeah.
Chumming at 16 knots is good.
So you've always suffered with seasickness, is it?
Yeah. I spent. My dad used to keep a diary of all the fishing and stuff, and the number of times I have a quick sneaky peek through it when he didn't realise, and it would be there's Kev curled up asleep, or there's Kev throw it up again, and I thought even recorded all of that.
A lot of people would have just gone, I'm not getting, like my wife won't get on boats. She's just
Yeah, you hear often, don't you? You hear, oh, fucking hell, I get seasick. I won't go on boats. I don't go nowhere near boats. I get seasickness. So, I mean, fair play for...
Yeah,
especially as a kid, that puts most people off, doesn't it?
I guess we didn't have much choice as a kid.
Yeah, you were dragged on the boat whether you liked it or not, yeah.
We're going fishing.
Yay.
So it was fishing out of Plymouth as a kid. And then, so when we were talking the other night, you were saying that you may have missed a few days of school because you might have been doing a little bit of fishing.
Stay in school, kids.
Yeah, stay in school. Your education's important. Don't follow what we've done.
Yeah, I may have been ill through much of my A-level and degree and so on.
Well,
yeah.
Just to go fishing.
Maybe.
Was this the commercial side of things?
Yeah, so the little boat we had, we'd had it before the licences came in, so yeah, we'd always sell surplus catch anyway. And then when the licences came in, we applied for it and got it, and yeah.
Just through like granddad rights, basically. Yeah. If you were already doing that sort of thing and you could prove it. Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it was exactly that. There was you had to prove a track record that you were doing it. As it was, the few months leading up to it, for whatever reason, I don't think the boat went out much. So they did argue the toss, trying to stop us getting a licence.
When was that? What year? What years are we talking then?
80s. Yeah, must have been late 80s, I guess.
So before that, was that under a certain size vessel? You could just sell any excess catch you had.
No, they just weren't.
There weren't the fishing laws that we've got now. No MMO, no.
That I'm aware of. Ken, I was a kid. I'm aware of, yeah. But yeah, once we got it, that was it. Then that's where most of my time was
spent. So you sort of inherited that boat and out you went.
Well, it stayed in the family, and
well, you took it over, I should say.
Yeah, so. I mean, I was brought up sort of standing on an upturned fish box to look out the window, and it was very much a case of both my dad and the chap that used to come out with us a lot. He was a merchant navy captain, so he was very much grab a towel, put it over any of the electronics, and gave me a stopwatch, compass, and a chart. And it was if you can't do it with that, then get off the wheel. So
that's a lost art really nowadays, isn't it? It's I'm fully guilty of that. Like if I haven't got a chart plotter and I can't see where I'm going, then I don't. I'm lucky. Like I know if I'm coming back from the Eddystone or something, I know what bearing to be on. But if I was, that's not a skill set that I have, to be honest. But that's a very good skill set to put into somebody at a young age, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I at the time, I'm sure I probably wasn't as grateful as I am now of it. But yeah, it was definitely
probably a burden at the time. You're like, I want to do this.
I want to drive. I'm a kid. Let me on the wheel. But no, it was. Yes, I'm very thankful for it now. Definitely.
So when you were going out on the commercials, what were you targeting then?
So that was mainly pollock, bass, cod, conger, that sort of stuff.
All rod in line?
All rod in line, yeah.
Conger on the commercials?
Yeah.
What do they use those for? Is that for pot bait, or does it actually go out to your country and they eat it?
I think they process it a lot for a lot of the white processed fish meals that you buy. There's a lot of conger in those things.
Right, okay.
Somebody did tell me that crab sticks are a large part conger. I don't know.
That would make good sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was so much of a...
Yeah, I think your highly processed meals with fish in a lot of it might be...
Just because there's a lot of weight in that fish and a lot of meat in
it's
that
really
fish.
White and quite firm.
I've never even contemplated it. I couldn't even...
They stink, don't they?
Yeah,
just leave them in the water.
I couldn't even think about it. So how long were you commercially fishing for?
I suppose we must have got rid of that boat probably 12, 15 years ago. So that would make me, 30 at the time.
Just
started at 15. No, the parents just sold it and that was that.
Didn't fancy taking it on and cracking on with it, or was it sort of the love had been lost a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it was more a job than enjoyment. When you're going out doing it, I mean, we've whether it's bass fishing, pollocking, or I remember bringing a boat back from Guernsey once, and we hit a shoal of bream and just had box after box after box of bream. I think we had about 2 fish under £3. Most of them are sort of big 4, 5, 6 pound black bream. But again, it's you're like, oh wow, that must have been bloody brilliant. But you're just swinging 3 of them over at a time, unhooking them, rebaiting, down you go, grab another 3.
Takes the shine off of things.
It really did.
I can fully get that. So when I ended up on the boat last year for tunaring, it was very much like I've always wanted I've seen the appeal of wanting to go commercial fishing. I never wanted to be on a trawler in any way, shape, or form. Like those big beam trawlers, I never wanted to be like scalloping or anything like that. It always had to be rod in line. But I didn't want to be the person that had to go out in all of those weathers to pay your bills.
Yeah.
It was sort of that was going to take the shine off of it a bit. So when I got the opportunity last year, I sort of jumped in it. But I can already see how the shine comes off of it because I show people pictures on my phone of what we get up to, and if they've got nothing to do with fishing, they're like, oh, and you're already like, well, that wasn't even one of the big ones. It was sort of like, yeah, I can see how it sort of, the shine can go from it after a while.
But you look at that. I mean, if a customer comes on and they've not been fishing before or something, they get like a wrasse, sort of £2-3 or something like that, and they're over the moon with it. The elation they've got, that just makes me so excited to take them. To take people out and do that,
Yeah, for sure.
and other people will be like, wow, that's nothing. I've had them £5-6. I think, great.
Yeah, that's not the point.
But
you're completely missing the point.
Absolutely.
There. Yeah.
And it got like that with the rod and line commercial side with me. It was when you're starting to look at the fish and I haven't got 2 or 3 boxes of bass, so it's not been a good day or whatever. And
was that your sole income then when you were running line in? So you touched on a little bit earlier that you may or may not have missed some studying.
No.
So what if you weren't on the boat? What were you? What did you qualify as or try?
Oh, okay. Well, at the time I was working in nightclubs and pubs.
Drug dealer.
Dancing.
Yeah, the restraint I've had not to get up on this table. So I ran a couple of pubs and bars and nightclubs and things while I was at uni, and got uni out of the way. Was then going off into the Navy, but a postman driving on the wrong side of the road put pay to that, so invalided out straight away.
Wouldn't accept you.
No, I've had the left side rebuilt quite a few times. So
you set off the metal detectors in the airport every single time. You're always getting patted down.
yes,
Lovely.
Because you're teaching now, aren't you?
yeah, chemistry teacher now.
Where did that come from?
Well, that was after the accident and having that sort of future taken away from you, just hit rock bottom, really down in the dumps. And the wife was, what else have you expressed interest in? You mentioned teaching once, didn't you? Yeah. And filled the forms in, sent it off. She did all of that. And signed up as a trainee teacher and haven't looked back since. Absolutely loved it.
Oh, fair play.
Really? And that's in secondary school?
Yeah.
My wife was an English teacher. She didn't have the most complimentary things to say about being. Yeah, it's not easy.
But
it's got to be
not.
harder than fishing, commercial fishing.
Absolutely, yeah. But again, if you, like I was saying before, with the person catching their first wrasse or whatever, and the elation they've got there, if you've got some kids that are actually attentive and listening to what you're saying, and actually, yeah, that sounds pretty good, or say thank you as they leave the room, that's bloody brilliant. Absolutely.
That's like
fair play.
on a fish, isn't it?
Yeah, fair play.
That same sort of buzz comes through, I suppose. So, going back onto Crusader, then is that now? So, do you not fish at all now? Do you just do you get that fishing fix from other people catching those fish?
Yeah, the mainstay is putting other people on the fish. Yeah, like the tuna. I've not had a go at tuna fishing yet. Not on Crusader, anyway. I've had one go on. Yeah, I've had one go on another boat, and I was lucky enough to be invited out by Mark on Fortuna, and took
Nice boat that is.
brilliant, and what a guy as well, fantastic. Took my little boy Jack with me. I think I might have even been crewing for him, but anyway, the customers had enough. They'd caught enough fish, and next one's yours. Give it a go. So I let Jack get his in. So there's a great photo of Mark dangling him over the side while we've got the fish ready to tag, and then it was my go. So I had a go, got it all but 20 yards from the boat, spat the hook and went, and that's the only time I've had a go for a tuna. But I've put.
So you've had one go. So you're a tuna charter skipper. Mm-hmm. You've had one go and you've lost it.
Yeah, that's it. Bodes well, doesn't it? But having said that, we've put over 300 to the side of the boat.
Yeah, a huge amount of on the deck. So when I first reached out to you because of that Facebook post where people were asking what they can expect at different times of the year, do you actually have a itinerary, I suppose the word is, or certain parts of the year? Are you on different grounds? Are you fishing for different?
Yeah,
things?
so
Or is it?
what we have noticed, I mean, I used to keep a diary of what was where and when. That's gone out the window now. It's almost like the seasons have just kind of blended. You know, you could almost set your calendar by, you know, the pollock will be on the wrecks at this time, and as they fade out, the ling will move in, and, you know, so we shift around and target those different things, and that's almost just blended now.
Do you think that's a water temperature thing? Because we're definitely warmer out there, aren't we?
Yeah, it could be that. It could. I mean, look at the cycles of how the bait shoals have moved in that have brought in whales and tuna and stuff. You know, that's all on the increase again, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it could be that. Could be a big cycle. There's so many elements to it. But our main efforts over the last few years have been trying to get away from this idea of Plymouth is where you go for pollock and conger. Whether it's the interest in congers dropping or what, I don't know, but we don't get the massive trade that we used to for that in the 90s.
Was that one of the main go-tos? Was it conger fishing?
Yeah, Plymouth was all about wrecking, wasn't it? But we've spent probably the last 5 seasons really pushing and showing that there's other stuff there. I mean, you know, different types of bream are back. You know, used to be full of bream. I remember as a kid we used to put red bream on for bait for a conger, otherwise a red bream would take it if you put anything else down.
So do you find that a direct kind of knock-on effect of the guys that they've lost the interest in just winding up for pollock with the big old 20-30s and this sort of stuff? And do you think it's the angling industry's changed regards to the tackle that's available has made people want to do a little bit more diversify and fish maybe a little bit lighter?
We still have loads of people wanting fillets, so that trade is still there. But I think part of it that's driven me to it is I get more excited by seeing things like rays and flatties and stuff coming up through the water. So I want to show that that's here as well. And yeah, if you look back through the last couple of years or more of our posts and our adverts and so on, we're pushing more and more different types of ray fishing. We found the taupe and the smooth hound and spur dogs and stuff. You know, we broke the bloody spur dog record several times over if we were to have killed them and brought them in.
Yeah, that's something I've never understood. I don't know why you just can't weigh something, have it verified. There's enough people on the boat. You send.
Yeah.
So in carp fishing, you got to. Obviously, like back in the day, you used to have to kill it then it all got changed in fresh water. Now you just got to send your scales in to be verified that they're calibrated properly. I don't know why they don't.
Yeah, I mean, even in just that kind of sea there, I mean, there's hardly any swell, a tiny bit of chop. You're not going to get an accurate weight in it. But I can remember a particular spur, 27.3 it was. We'd weighed it on 3 sets of scales. We took the lowest weight of those 3 once they were settling. And when you did the shark measurements you do with the length and the girth and so on, that one put it nearly 2.5 pound heavier. So we took the lowest weight of all of it. And I can remember when that post went out, I had probably 20 people tell me how wrong I was and how it was never that big. And
welcome to social media.
Absolutely, that's what I thought. These Reuben Heaton, he needs to stop investing in scales and all his all this contact knowledge.
Put it on Facebook
and just stick it on there, and somebody's eyes will tell you how big.
It boils my piss. It really does.
And anybody that's listened to this, the few episodes we put up will know mine and Danny's views on social media. It is everybody is a bit of a. You're struggling to put. Can we have the main page up, please, mate?
Oh, will he?
Yeah. Pull up the main photos. Yeah, I'm not a fan of social media in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think if you go back 100 years and you have to ride into town on your horse and stand on a box and shout.
Yeah.
I wonder if everyone's got so much to say if we went back to that.
I could quite happily do that. Yeah. I've got that to show.
Oh, these are so cool. Combos.
Do you get many of them?
Yeah, we started seeing more and more of those.
So let's shout out to the Med. Catch millions of them in the Med.
Yeah, they don't belong here. But they were here when the big bream shoals used to be around. Yeah, when the places were absolutely full of bream. Used to get comber in amongst them.
It's unreal. Yeah. When I saw that on your page,
they are beautiful. We get probably a dozen a month, I suppose.
That's mental.
Are they here all year, or is it?
No, we see them spring to late August.
It's crazy. Like I say, that's a Mediterranean fish.
Yeah, member of the bass family. Yeah, awesome little critters they are.
Nice ling.
Yeah.
But most of these guys like down with the port. Oh look,
I like Aaron's photographs.
who's that good-looking bloke in the middle? There he is. There I am, I'm sniffing my finger.
With Dave stood in front of you, what have you been doing?
That was a great trip. I really enjoyed that trip.
That was shortly after your exploding place race, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I wouldn't have landed that one that Dave had. He could hardly pick it up. That was around like, I'm sure it was around the £30 mark, that thing he had.
Yeah.
It was a big, big blonde.
Yeah, it was nice because he was saying about the decline of 30s up sort of Dartmouth way, wasn't he? And then
Yeah, so there was a stay. I won't shout out the person it was, but they literally just, a commercial boat came in and they just fished the Scaries Bank, and it was all for the raise.
Yeah.
And it absolutely decimated it. It's back now a little bit. Funnily enough, I bumped into Dave the other day coming down from Start. We ended, if my wife's listening, turn off now, because we ended up in Dartmouth having a few beers. But I told her I was cleaning the boat. He'd been up there and he had a few blondes that day, nothing particularly big.
Yeah.
But the water's like, it's all churned up at the moment. It's not the best fishing out there. But you're definitely doing some ray fishing down that way, aren't you?
Yeah, so these ones in the dark and the ones where I'm here, actually, it's quite rare to see me not only fishing but actually catching. Through the winter, we started doing loads of like just 5-hour trips.
I remember seeing the posts about them. Yeah, you were doing those evening runs, weren't you?
We were cancelling so much because of the weather, and we started finding the occasional spotted or the occasional small-eyed on those evening trips, and I thought they've got to be holding up somewhere. So if you wouldn't mind scrolling back up again, strongest person I've ever met, the missus. She came out with us. This was like 3 hours we were on the boat. And that includes running out, anchoring, and running back again. 3 hours is all it was. And I had a hunch there must be holding up somewhere, because we were catching them just a little bit here, a little bit there. So picked a spot where I thought they might be. And in that probably 2 hours fishing, we stopped counting at 26. It was literally rod in the water, fish on.
They're all a respectable stamp of fish, aren't they?
Yeah.
Nothing.
And there was spotteds, blondes, small-eyeds, all in that little area.
Spotted when I was on your trip. We ended up. I won't give the Dartmouth side of Plymouth. You took us sort of not a million miles away, and you dropped us down on the spot. I know nothing about rays. I'm putting it out there now. I know nothing about it. And this fish come up, and it wasn't very big, but everyone was getting all excited about it because apparently it was a good size for a spotting.
Yeah.
So not only did I fluked out like an 18-pound blonde as my first fish, I fluked out this respectful size spotted as well.
Would you say that's what you enjoy targeting the most? If you could do
For me, yeah.
Yep.
For general fishing, I'd rather get the anchor down and see what's down there. The turbots, the rays, even things like gurnets. I think they're so cute.
Yeah, they are. I remember like years ago when the first one I ever caught, I was like, what is this? They're like aliens, you don't expect something that bright in that, especially the reds with that blue that they've got on the side of the fins.
The tubs. With the tubs.
Yeah.
Line on there, yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. So you're not so much into going out, find the wreck, drift.
Quite happy doing that,
Okay.
yeah. But if it's me fishing, then, I want to get the anchor down and do that. But, we found, plenty of places for these rays, and we started catching smoothhound and tope as well. And these huss are quite entertaining because they're the experts at coming all the way to the surface, and then as soon as you put the net in the water, they just go like that.
Yeah.
And
Really?
see you later, I'm off. Yeah, they just yawn at you and let go.
Well, do you think that's down to they haven't actually set the hook, they're just too stubborn to let go of the bait, and then they realise they're coming out of the water and gone? Yeah. Yes, and
That's a pretty cool one. That's where we do the dives with the sharks, and
so is that
as close as it looks.
Is that like play? So you're taking people out who want to go diving?
Yeah, take them out onto the shark grounds, and instead of catching and tagging the sharks, go in and have a swim with them.
Do you put some bait in the water to get them in, or?
Yeah, we put the trail out as you normally would.
See, there's two things that I don't agree with. I don't understand. A, people that want to be underneath the water surface. I like being on top of it. Second one, being under the water surface with sharks.
Yeah.
That's a beast of a photo.
The porgy.
Yeah, the porgy.
Yeah.
They're cool, aren't they?
That one actually came out of that's not being lifted out of the water. That kind of leapt. It's only a small one. That one you can see by the size of the hook.
It's a great shot though.
Yeah.
Yeah, great shot. So, how much of the season do you spend on like shark charters?
Mid-June, right up until sort of start of September if we're pushing it, if they're hanging around.
So, do you mix it in with the tuna,
Yeah.
with the tuna charters and stuff like that?
Yeah, so obviously over the last 3 seasons,
Please, mate.
the tuna's taken over. There's a lot more interest in catching those than there has been the sharks.
Just because lads have done the shark fishing, sort of ticked
Yeah.
it off, and this is the new kid on the block.
the new
isn't
gold
it?
rush.
Yeah, the new gold rush. Well put. Plenty of tuna. I've always liked looking at your Facebook page. There's loads of great stuff on there. So when someone comes on for the day, then let's say you're going ray fishing and they haven't done this before, are you on there with them, setting bits and pieces up? You're going to talk them through it? Do you do rod hire, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so we do all that. When we first thing on the boat is safety brief and brief outline of what we're going to be doing for the day, and then then you start gauging who can do what, and because on the phone they might say, we've been fishing, we know what we're doing, and then they arrive and they've got a
Bunch of noddies.
well, it's a bit mean, isn't it?
Carrier bags and high-vis jackets.
Yes. 4-pack or something. But no, you take them through, loads of hire gear available, set them up exactly as I would be fishing it, run them through it a few times, and rather than just here it is ready to go, show them how to do it.
Okay.
So that they've learned something they can take it away for next time. Or
Going through knots, going through why I've got like this leader at this length, why why I'm using a hook length like this. And
so then if anything does happen, they're not stood there just help me, come and show me how it's done or whatever. Show them how to do it, and then they can be a lot more self-sufficient, can't they? And when they get to the first bite, or they've hooked one and just stood there with the rod still and turning and nothing's happening, take them through how to lift it up and wind on the way down again, and take a bit of pressure off their arms with proper leverage and so on.
I've been on some boats and they don't do any of that. I think it's quite an important part of that business. It's how to get repeat customers.
Exactly
I suppose
that.
you've probably got some people that you've taught to fish coming all the way up through and are still fishing with you now, and just keep coming back and want to.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? Angling isn't it's not a bloody cock swinging fight and who's better all the time.
Unfortunately, it seems to be, but it shouldn't be.
It's if we've all got that same love in angling, haven't we? We want to go out, we want to see what's going on out there. If the guy next to us catches something absolutely fantastic, we're made up just as much as if we caught.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's what it needs to be about. So if you're not leading that from a charter full of newbies or even seasoned pros, we're all learning as we're out there. But if you can't instill that, and you haven't got the fire in your belly to go and want them to go and catch and get off the boat and say that was brilliant, really happy with it, then it's time to do something different, I think.
I would say so, yeah, very much. So do you supply bait when they're coming on as well, or just
Can do.
the beginning section of the day you're just going to go and feather up bait as part of it?
Yeah, so at the moment we're still struggling for bait. We're not catching much.
I tried to find some mackerel the other day. I wanted to go and do a bit of bassing. I couldn't find anything. A couple of the guys up in Poole, I think they're out that way. They might be Eastbourne, I can't remember. They're just talking about some stuff turning up now.
Yeah, the bassing down around Seaton area at the minute, there's mackerel right in close, but the boats are struggling, but right on the foreshore.
Yeah. We had that in Corsound last Friday. There was a shoal of bass had just driven the mackerel right up onto the beach. So you can just scoop them up off the beach if you wanted. But no, we're lucky now that we've got there's several decent tackle bait shops in Plymouth, one of which for us is really handy because it's on the fish quay, and our boat's, it's 100 yards away from the boat. So when people are booking in, if they need bait, so either go and get it yourself, or if you want, I'll pick it up from the local shop.
Do a bait package.
Yeah, I mean, don't make anything from it. It comes with a receipt. If they're charging £3 a pack for mackerel or whatever, then that's what they pay for it. I'm not.
That's good of you.
Yeah, well, it's not my business to go and buy and sell bait. Just like it's not like a private boats business to go and run charters, you know. So it's,
I thought I've heard something about that going on.
Do you affiliate with a shop down there? Are you guys affiliated to a shop, or
we're not affiliated. We've got one that's really close to me, so that's the easiest. I mean, I walk past it from when I park the car to get on the boat.
Yeah.
So it makes absolute sense to go through that. But I'm happy to go into all of them. They're all pretty brilliant.
And what about the tackle for your hire rods and all? Do you have like a brand that's backed the boat to give you the gear, or is it?
Yeah, so Sidewinder for the lure side of things.
Shout out Sam.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant setup. I mean, their lures are fantastic. Reached out to them originally because we wanted a particular style of lure. When the sprats are in, there's nothing that will touch it. So we just reached out to them and said, look, are you looking for anyone to test lures, to model lures, come up with new ideas or whatever, because we've got something. We looked into production ourselves, but the bulk that they wanted to buy it in.
MOQ of 10,000 or something
exactly,
like that.
Yeah. So
if you want an off-the-shelf, not an off-the-shelf, a custom order, they proper...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't fancy being rinsed for that. And also, again, we're not a tackle shop, so I don't want to go jumping into other people's, taking food off their plate. That's their domain. And it was Dave at the time, Dave Kiddy, was the one that I was chatting with. He went, yeah, show us what you got. What do you want? We'll go and send some ideas off, and we'll send you some samples.
They're the boys to do it.
And we had a couple of versions, and what they ended up with wasn't what we wanted to begin with, because the material we wanted was lighter and the tail was a bit quicker. But it was that kind of material that if you stuck it in your box with anything else, it just melted through everything else.
So the Savage Gear stuff had a problem with that.
And that was one of the first things he said. He said, if we just use the traditional sidey mix, then they'll store with everything, and there's no problem at all with it. And he was absolutely spot on. I mean, that's his expertise, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, we said we want this shape, these colours, this kind of pattern to it. And what they made, there was a picture of one hanging out the mouth of a pollock at the top.
Go back up, please, Aaron. I was going to see, has it got a bit of a green tinge to it?
Yeah, it's the foil inside. I think it was almost right at the very top, I think it was.
Still using them now, then?
Oh, God, yeah. There he is. Yeah, those.
Click on that one, please, mate.
And they named it Crusader Shed.
Ah. So this is something you can go and buy from Sidewinder if they want to?
Yeah, 2 in a box. And they're absolutely bloody brilliant lures. So when, especially this time of year when the sprats turn up, if you gut a fish and it's got one of those little bloody tiny pilchards or sprats in there, stick one of those on. Fantastic lures.
What size lure is it? Is it like
it's a 4-inch, 6-inch.
with a weighted head?
Yeah.
Like?
Yeah,
and
and
it's
it's
just
got
fishing that on a normal like Portland style rig or a boom.
Yeah, so we use the combination swivels. The little 3 ways that are tied together.
Yeah,
we use those.
Reminds me of almost a helicopter setup in carp fishing. Just have your leg on the bottom, off you go.
That's it.
Never really tangles, does its thing, doesn't it?
And if it does, it's just snip a trace and put another one on.
That's why I like them so much. Yeah. Simon at Hooks got me into them instead of using those booms all the time.
Yeah.
So and now I tie my lead on with a much lighter piece of line on the bottom. So if I do snag off in anything, you normally just pull it through, you lose the lead, you can just whip another one back.
See, we go the other way. We just clip the leads on.
Yeah, I used to, but I was always...
We were losing more leads when you were breaking a lure out of the bottom.
Really?
That shock of when it recoils was shaking the lead off. And we were losing more leads that way than we were clipping them on.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Might go back. I might give it a go. This is why I enjoy doing these podcasts so much. So you reached out to Sidewinder for that. I've seen that you do you do a few of their giveaways in bits and pieces. Have you thought about doing your own? Like, is that just your go-to colour, or is there other?
Well, they've got that one. There's a pink one, rhubarb and custard, and a white one with a red spot. But the black one's my favourite. But they all work.
They all work.
Yeah, they catch anglers, don't they? A lot of these things.
I was having this conversation the other day about all the different squid colours that I've got. Like we were talking earlier when you came round, that everyone's got their go-to colours. I swear sometimes the other colours are just there.
Of course,
it's catch anglers. But as I also always say, fishing is 50% confidence.
Confidence is a massive part of it.
Yeah, and if you're like into that colour, I swear sometimes you can think a fish on the end of the line. it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you been out wrecking or, catching this sort of stuff and, it was all on pink yesterday, lads. All right, why is that?
Orange
Because
is-
everybody was using pink. Somebody caught on one and everybody changed to pink. So
Well, like orange is always a
Yeah.
big shout for pollock, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I've always caught an orange. When I was down on with Kieran recently, I was chucking orange over the side, and all I was catching was coalfish, and I really wanted a big wrasse. That's all I'd gone down for. So I swapped out onto a brown, started catching wrasse. So that was on the slow pitch. I know your views on the slow pitch. We were down there that time. You said the only time I've ever seen a fish caught is it's foul hooked in the head.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant method. We've got loads of customers that use it, and I know there are other boats that absolutely specialise in it. It's brilliant.
It's like
I've got nothing against it.
It's the new kid on the block.
Yeah.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's the difference between traditional and more modern methods. It's that.
I mean, my only comment with it is I've yet to see one fairly hooked in the mouth, and that's genuine. That's not slating the method. That's not anything to do with it. And I really admire the skill that I've seen people using, and you've had Matt on, watching him with it and his explanations of how to use it. Fantastic. But yeah, every single fish that I've seen on a jig on the boat has come up and it's been either hooked in the side or hooked on the top of the head. Or
I've got a bit of a theory with it, and I'm pretty sure because of those assist hooks, the way that they're probably flying around, as soon as that fish gets within that far of the lure, it's just going to stick in the first place it goes.
Absolutely.
Because Matt runs them on the bottom of the jig as well, which I never do. I only ever had them on the top. But yeah, that's a whole other wormhole you can go into. So, is there, as we come out of the Christmas period at the beginning of the year, that first like January, February, March, is there a go-to species that you start with before we hit into the spring?
So if the weather allows, that's normally the indication to just get out and hit the wrecks and get the big pollock, early cod, maybe a ling, coalfish, that sort of stuff. We're seeing more bass on the wrecks through the winter now.
Do you think that's because they've been left alone with the netting a bit this year?
I mean, over the last few years, the bass have been increasing. I'm not sure if we'll see the impact of the netting at the moment, or the lack of it. Whether that'll take a few seasons, or let the what has spawned, let that get out and grow and see how successful it's been.
What do you think the bass coming back in has been a bit of a? Do you think it's a cut back on commercial fishing, or do you think there's just been a lot of breeding going on?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're really berating the commercial side, doesn't it? With the numbers have gone down. Is it because of that? I don't know.
I heard a terrible fact recently, and I don't know how true this is, so you can't hold me on this, but apparently recreational fishing, sea fishing, brings in more money to the economy than the inshore fishing fleet does commercially. I can't back that up with actual facts. You said it was quite. It made me think about it. I didn't just write it off.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, you know what you're talking about. That's.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been shown certainly on the tuna thing, but then there was specific questionnaires going out to see how much was being brought in by each of the trips and so on. So yeah, there's got to be a lot of truth in certain parts of that.
Definitely the tuna. I've spoken about this quite a lot. We got one of those questionnaires on the commercial last year, and they were like, "What's the economical impact on you having this commercial license?" And my first, because Mike sent me out an email, I just responded to it going, wrong department, you need to speak to the charts boys. Because yes, it's an uptick for the boat, but for you guys, they come down, they stay in a local hotel or a local Airbnb, they're going to go to the pub, they're going to go tackle shop, down the Indian, down the local sandwich shop, all of these things. It's got a much bigger impact coming in, especially where we are as well. Every little helps, doesn't it? But
Absolutely.
I can definitely see how charts has brought a huge slice of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the time of year as well that the hotels and the guest houses and so on are traditionally winding down as well, isn't it? So it's extended their season. And yeah, we've worked with a few hotels and making sure that our customers go into those, and they've definitely noticed the impact of it.
Do you do some package deals that way, or would you literally just say when they book with you and they say, "Do you know a hotel?" Do you just push them that way?
Yeah, so
doing complete packages where
no, we haven't done complete packages at the moment because of if things get cancelled, if we can't do something for whatever reason, say that, I don't know, the weather or the mechanical issue or whatever that cancels the trip, that then impacts the hotel, doesn't it? And if they're booking on separate contracts and they've got different cancellation rules or clauses, then fine. You can get like flexi bookings now with some, can't you? So we didn't want to do whole packages like that, but what we can do is say, we know that there's availability here, just book with them direct instead.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely, it's got to have helped. It's a massive. So how did you end up on charts because you were obviously seeing them out there before charts was a thing.
Yeah, so
obviously not fishing for them, but
well, the year or so before chart started, so 4 and a bit years ago now.
2018.
Yeah, they did bring in the you can't fish for them. But prior to that, we had caught some.
Yeah.
So we'd had them on like heavier shark kit, and I
accidentally, just that you weren't targeting them to get their shark in.
Yeah, exactly that. Knowing that they were around, I mean, I've still done it now. My blue sharking kit, higher kit, is heavier than it needs to be because we've hit quite a few tuna on the shark gear. And when you're just watching a reel go, going like that, it's like it's not going to be fair if this breaks off. So we've stepped the gear up for that.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, it started. We had those early tuners, and I got a phone call totally out of the blue. Didn't recognise the number, and this bloke's chatting about tuna and so on, and I had no idea who he was, and he's just talking about where we see them, when we see them, type of things we're using to catch them, is there any patterns of things, and he sounded really quite knowledgeable about tuna, so I thought, just carry on and talk to anyone really. And I then get this, he starts talking about lures and trolling lures for them. I thought, well, I've never trolled a lure in my life, I wouldn't know what to do. So, no, I've not tried it. It's something you want to have a look at. And so, well, you do realise we're not allowed to fish for them, don't you? So, yeah. But just bear in mind that's going to change. So he'd obviously got wind of plans that were changing. Didn't realise I was talking to Mark, who's got Fortuna.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so a guy that needs nothing from anyone in terms of fishing and was just so open about how to do things. I mean, he invited me up to his place to show me how to build the gear and how to run the gear, how to set your stuff out, and he just taught me how to do it. Went out with him a couple of times on practice runs and so on. And then charts became a thing, or the applications went out. Before that actually was Tom Horton's programme that we went to see the review of a couple of weeks ago. So we applied for that one, and
they had to be the boat for the filming work.
Well, they had a catch boat and a tagging boat.
Right. Okay.
So we went for catch boat, and we thought we'd be able to take anglers down in charge for a day and so on. They wanted us to run out of Falmouth, and then said, well, it's a flat rate of X number of hundreds of pounds to go, and you can't take anglers. So that didn't really suit us. So we said, well, thanks, but no, we'll withdraw from that. Then chart came out. And we just put our application in like everyone else. The application process was insane. If anyone thinks that it was a golden ticket and it was just gifted to anyone, it couldn't be further from the truth.
I have heard that.
It was reams and reams of stuff we had to go through just for the standard application.
We've got the same. I've seen the one for the commercial. Same thing. Reams of it.
But not only just the application side of it, it was then, right, we want to go from pulpit all the way to your bloody rudder, and we want to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. We want to see all your paperwork, we want to come on board, we want to check everything.
Is this DEFRA?
This was, because, through CFAS, because they were putting their staff on board, they needed their own yes, we can put our staff on. It's like, well, we're MCA coded vessels, so why do we need all of this extra stuff? But it was so they could put their staff on. So there was no
Did you have
easy.
any problems with any of that?
No, not at all. No,
They
no.
came out, passed it.
Yeah, we did. They just wanted copies of everything for your coding. So all that went off. Then they came down. They had a good look around, and we started with like a video tour of everything. They take us through and on the phone and checking this and checking that. And then they came down. In the first year, they had to install cameras as well. That was a bit awkward for a lot of us because we're obviously booked up for the entire season, and then have to stay ashore for a day to get a bloody camera put on.
What was the point of that? Just so you could see what was going on?
Yeah, so absolutely every part of the licensing for being able to do the program was that it had to be everything needed recording. So we had cameras that we had no control over. As soon as we left port, they automatically came on. They had data recorders and everything, so GPS logs, speeds and everything. So if we had pulled the plug to the camera and said, "Oh, it's got a fault," and go off and do something else, then that was all logged. So there was no hiding anything.
Right, okay. Every boat had that?
Yeah, everyone on chart on the first year had these fixed cameras. Yeah.
Oh, Big Brother specials.
Yeah, but then,
There's some brilliant footage on there.
Oh, it's fantastic footage, yeah.
You ever got to see it?
No.
Oh.
If they
There's
ever...
a Netflix series waiting to go right there.
If they ever did anything like that again, where you had to be filmed, at first it was, they weren't small cameras. They were cameras that were designed for when they were monitoring discards and stuff on trawlers. So
like big
those,
old school.
the big domed security cameras you see. Imagine that, and then a big metal shroud around it. And
Just
then
the one camera?
Yeah, and then it fixed to the side of your boat so that it could see right down the side that you were restraining and tagging.
Okay.
And they were really good quality as well. You could zoom right in and see. We had a live view of what we were doing, but we didn't get to see the recordings.
So you had a monitor in the wheelhouse as well.
Yeah,
See it.
ours was tucked out of the way, but yeah, if we ever did it again, I'd ask for 2 or 3 more cameras. And just so we could film everything as we were going. And be
Yeah, that's an opportunity missed. That is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first year. Were there any teething problems in that first year? Was it a massive learning curve?
Huge learning curve. Yeah, never towed a lure before in my life, and it was thanks to Mark. He didn't need to tell us anything. Essentially, he's a competitive boat, isn't he?
Yeah, you could have just kept quiet and go and work it out for yourself.
Yeah, he's got decades of experience of game fishing in Ireland, in Kenya, and obviously over here now as well. But yeah, he was good enough just to say, right, this is what you need to do. This is how you do it. Let's keep in contact. We'll talk each other through stuff. But that was one of the best things about that first year of chart is you've got 15 boats, and everyone was talking to each other.
I was just about to ask that. What was the camaraderie and whatnot between the other boats?
Somebody actually said at the end of the first year there were 2 factions. There was a group of 14 and there was a group of 1. There was one. But the group of 14. Fantastic. Now we're all boats from different ports. Some of us knew each other well. Other people I'd never met before, never spoken to, and yet.
So for the listeners, then, what's the span of that? Where was, say, farthest east? What was the most east boat?
Well, we had somebody down on the north coast in St Ives.
Sam.
Yeah, and then all the way up. I think that there was one boat that was registered up in Rye, I think.
Because some boats come down for the season.
Yeah, a lot of the boats had worked it, but everyone was pretty much working from start point to Land's End.
Okay, cool.
And just all of those skippers that are all competing for the same fish and the same customers and so on, but we're all talking to each other on the radio and on the phone. It was absolutely brilliant.
I have heard it when we've been down there on the boat before. You can hear you lot chatting away. I've had one, but it was over here, and you can even see when you're fishing alongside each other. It was. This was last year, so it was it was obviously not the first year that we were doing it.
I think the first year for working together was probably the best. Because
it's integrated a little bit after that.
Well, as with everything, if you've got groups of people that want to be on the top, welcome to it. If you want to, you crack on. So smaller groups had gone by, but I don't know if there was any ill feeling between any of them. I would oblivious to it.
So what was your when you had to go and like make the investment for this? Was it a hard decision to make, or did you? Because you're not owner of Crusader.
No.
You purely skipper for him.
Yeah, I was relief skipper, so when he's too busy, I go out and give him a hand. And
I suppose we should jump back to that. How did that happen?
well, that was the little commercial boat was out of the water in the same yard that he was building Crusader. So I watched it being built, helped him out a little bit.
Built in Plymouth then? Though?
Yeah, built on the River Plym. Yeah.
Right, okay.
And he was talking about shark fishing. I don't think he'd ever done it at the time. We'd done loads of it. So I said, well, I'll come out and crew for you and show you how it's done. And just been great friends ever since.
Rest is history.
Yeah.
You ended up as relief skipper. Although you skipper more and more now, don't you?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, as much as I can. I absolutely love being on the water.
Yeah, I can imagine it's quite that access to a boat has got to be a bit of an addictive thing afterwards.
Yeah.
So then jump back to the tuna. Was it a hard conversation to have to go, let's make this investment? Because it's not a cheap investment. Rods,
God, no.
reels,
No, and
line.
that's where I've been really lucky, because not owning the business and not owning the boat, it's not me having to go and buy the stuff.
Yeah.
So where we'd been shown how to make the kit, rather than at the time there was very few places to go and buy any of this stuff.
Apart from Tuna Gear.
Who's that? Yeah, not heard of them.
Some
Are they any good?
Yeah.
Some really rough ginger bloke.
Does he know how to crimp? No, so there were very few places that were doing it. So
It was. Yeah.
and I thought, well, we need to get some kit together. I'll build it. I've been shown how to do it, so that saved us a fair bit. I still build all of our kit now, but the rods and reels, the reels we got straight from Shimano. We bought them, as anyone else would.
80s?
Yeah, 80 wides, Tiagras.
Lovely reels, aren't
That's
they?
the ones. Yeah, beautiful. But the rods, that had us thinking a bit. We weren't sure what to do with the rods, and ever since I was just toddling, I suppose, I've known Neil Bryant, who was the England team captain for quite a while. Fantastic bloke, and he's got loads of bloody contacts, and he started up that Blue Zone tackle, which is some awesome kit in there. And he obviously had links with this company in Italy, Artico, and he said, look, let me get some rods over, show you what they're like, and if you like them, we'll see if we can get you over to Italy. You can talk with them direct and see if they can meet your needs. COVID came in, put paid to that. The rods came over anyway, but those rods are just absolutely stunning.
What class rods are they?
Well, we use the 50/80s.
Okay, that's quite a light rod, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but and light in weight as well. You can pick them up with one finger, and they're
I've got the 80s there, but one of those Shimanos is a 50/80, and that doesn't half bend.
Yeah, with these, I don't
know how good those for a charter setting. I don't know how well the Shimanos would hold up on heavy use.
Yeah, I mean, there was some in the first year, lots of photos of rods that had been artificially shortened, shall we say.
I was just about to say, you were trailblazing over here for the UK sport. The fish were quite big. How much failure was there in the gear that you chose?
Yeah, so for us, thankfully, zero so far. We've had, I think, one crotch break on a crib so far that you could call a fail. But other than that, we've been really lucky with it. The rods, those ones that we had over from Italy, they've got they're like spiral wrapped with the Kevlar or whatever it is they're using. So there's no spine to them. So you can load them up completely straight in front of you, and then if the boat was to turn or the fish was to run the other way, they'll just twist, and they don't break. We've had them absolutely loaded up. I mean, we had a fish that was on his way down the side of a set of trawl warps off a trawler. He was doing his best to turn one way, but obviously with all that gear, he can't. And I'm trying to keep the fish on the right side of the boat, but trying to go the other way. And I just said to the guy, look, you're just going to have to put your thumbs on the reel. I'm going to have to drive this away from it. And at that point, we found out just how good the rods were.
Yeah, it's a stiff rod for that sort of lightness, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, any of the shots you'll see on there of the tuna and the rod's bending, as long as it's not the chair rods, it's those Italian ones.
Are you fighting from a chair sometimes?
Yeah, so we've put a chair on as well now.
Call them up, mate. Go through the tuna pictures, please, bud. Just scan this one up.
Shouldn't be any on there for a little while because we haven't been out for a little while tuna fishing.
So did you go, is it just best, you thought it's best to give people the two options? Anybody a bit older or not so big, or the strength side of things, you can put them into a chair?
Oh, if you go up a little bit, that guy in the red there, look, he's got one there. That's one of the 50/80s. I mean, look at the strain on his face there. Like, he's really leaning into that.
I can't wait. I just can't wait, honestly. I can't wait to get back out there.
Yeah.
How much do you think go from the chair to the preferred chair to a fighting harness?
Well, it depends on your angler, doesn't it? A lot of people will come and say, yeah, I can do this, I can do that.
And get their ass handed to them. Yeah.
The first half an hour, once they've stepped on the boat, we've gone through the safety brief, we've gone through all the plans for the day and so on, we'll then fit them into the harness. So the first two people that are going to fish, we'll fit them into a stand-up harness, we'll put the rod in and so on, and I'll go through a drill of, right, if I hold on to the rod now, you just sit down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sit into it, and they're really nervous. You can
Using
tell.
Black Magics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and...
They're amazing, aren't they?
Yeah, we've got a couple of brands that we use for them, but you can see straight away somebody that has done it before because they're confident and they'll sit back into it and they'll use their leg muscles and their arse muscles rather than their arms. Those that haven't done it before, they're really nervous about leaning into it. They think you're going to let go and they'll go splat. And the other thing you see,
that one there, he's fully.
so that's Neil there actually. That's Neil Bryant using his own rods that he brought over for us. So the other thing you'll notice when people have done this before is where their other hand goes. And if they've not done it before, it goes on the rod, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say to them straight away, if I let go of this rod now, your face is getting the good news. So the hand up on top of the reel. Yeah. Yeah, these are all the.
You can literally get that harness to do most of the work for you.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the stand-ups actually in the chair though. And but yeah, again, on what we had a chap design the chair for us and build it for us. It's a lot higher than most people's when you see it. And
next one down, just click on that one a sec. But yeah, that's it, mate. Thank you. Did you build those outriggers?
Yeah. So we, before investing, best part of 10 grand in
A set of tacos or a set of lees or something like that. They are not
we
cheap.
thought, well, let's give it a go and see if it works first, because we didn't have them in the first year. We'd never towed a lure at the time.
How many rods are you fishing?
Four.
So are you fishing like two out the back and two on like tracker bars off the side to give you that?
Yeah, to begin with. But we thought, sod it, we'll give it a go, see if they work, then it'll be worth investing.
So this is season 2 for them.
And we just got a couple of aluminium scaffold tubes and put, windsurf masts in the end. Yeah. And run with those. And
Did you just buy a normal outrigger kit then for the ropes and the clips and bits and pieces? You literally...
No, we just put a ring on the top and a couple part way down and sent some braided rope up and down. Got the proper roller release clips on that. Again, just to Heath Robinson the shit out of it and see if it works. And they worked that well in the first year that we didn't buy new in the third year.
You still got them now? Yeah. No plans to change them.
Well, while they work.
Yeah. That's if it's not broke. Why change?
Absolutely. Yeah, it works well. So why not?
So what was the biggest you had in the first year?
We had 2 fish in the first year at 110 inches.
Do you think that measure's accurate?
Well, the weight conversion?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Do you think it weighs heavy?
Yeah. But if we're all using it and we're all using the same thing,
at least
then you've got a comparison.
Yeah,
you've got something to work to. So until something better comes up, then we'll use the conversion charts. We have one that CFAS gave us stuck to the door. I've got ones from America on my phone. They're all much of a much. There's no massive difference in them. But, I mean, I appreciate that once you've gilled and gutted it, you're going to lose a fair bit of weight. But the discrepancy between, I've got a 90-inch fish here and it's X number of pounds, and, well, I've just landed a dead one and it weighs this much.
Yeah, no, definitely. It didn't dawn on me till last year, I just assumed that everything that chart was accurate.
No.
But what it would do was absolutely destroy my dreams of what I thought my biggest fish was. But I still stick to that weight. I'm not having it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 935 is what it puts those 110-inch fish at in that region, but
that's still even if it's not accurate, it's still well over 800. It's a big fish.
When people say time slows down when something amazing happens, I can remember that first one as it come alongside the boat, and you've got a head like that.
It's those eyes.
And massive eyes staring back at you. And I'm there with the grip and just looking at it thinking, well, what do I do now? Everything's just...
You're in awe, aren't you, really? You're just like...
wow, can we just stop and look at this thing? It's just immense. I didn't know whether to put the grip in it or shove a saddle on its back and ride it back. Just huge thing.
I had the same, like the first fish I caught, was the first one I caught, I had that exact experience. And it was nowhere near that size. It was probably 150, 170 pounds, something like that. And I was just like, I'm holding on to the lead, and I've got my mate with me, and he's been holding on to the back of the harness the whole time.
Yeah. And
we've now gone through the procedures, like he's lipped it, and I've got hold of this leader, and we're both like, A, we fucking done it. Yeah. B, we're just like, because when you're pollocking or you're bassing or you're this, there is no comparison to put it next to. Even, I've caught some chunky carp from some pretty gnarly places. Straight away, the carp rods were never seeing the light of day again. That was it, it's something else.
Yeah, I mean, when you say, it was only 150, 170 pound, but I mean, what a fishery we've got here to be able to say stuff like that.
Yeah, that's still like, that's like a 4 foot, maybe 5 foot fish, something like that. And when I'm not gifted with height, when you're staring at something which isn't much shorter than you, probably as wide as me, and you're just like, I've just pulled but you are right, what a fishery we've got here. Like, I'd never in my wildest dreams thought one day, I'll be able to sit on a podcast and have conversations with these skippers that have fished for them for 3 years, let alone having my own tackle brand and sort of going after it.
Yeah.
We were just, extremely, extremely lucky.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone from, I'd take my first year, never towed a lure, to actually catching them on that and thinking, wow, that's job done, to actually going out in the last couple of years where if we've got 4 individuals on board and being really, really angry until we get that 4th fish to make sure everyone's got one. You're thinking, yeah, it's great, we've got those fish, but I need one more. I've got to get another one. And to have that mindset just shows just how good our fishery is, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is first class.
And a lot of the time, we've got to think, hang on, big game fishing. We've got customers that book a boat somewhere for 2 weeks, and if they get 1 or 2 fish, they've had a successful trip. And there I am in a 10, 12 hour trip, beating myself up.
Well, I've heard often, even in the shop and social line, that when they're properly in, we have the best fishery for the bluefin.
It's got to be.
There is, really. And I spoke to people that have travelled all over the world, and they say that when it properly switches on here, it's unheard of anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, there's one of the videos I posted on there. I thought I've got to get a video of this. I think it was the first day of the 3rd season, and
so that's last year.
Yeah, so we've got 2 fish on, and there's just this immense washing machine on the surface of swirling.
Where were you for that? Was that out of Plymouth, or was that towards Brixton?
It was all out of Plymouth.
So there was a stage where they moved a bit and they came up our way.
Yeah,
and we were out past one of the wrecks called the Meat Boat, which is about 12 miles out, something like that, 10, 12 miles out. And you could have literally walked on the back of Tuna all the way into Tor Bay. We started coming up on them, and you've just got this line of birds about a mile long, and it's glinting in the water from all the scales.
Yeah.
And it's like you could see it on the horizon. You could see this bus going off.
Try that one. Day 1, see if it's that one.
This one here.
Yeah, I don't know if the sound works or what, but... Yeah, so I'm just steering the boat, camera hanging out the window. 2 fish on, and the big bus beside us.
It's such, like looking at it on video is good, but when you're actually there staring at what is going on, it's like the first time I saw it, it's quite an eerie thing, because you're like, what must be going on underneath there is unreal. So when you're steaming out,
Tuna,
are you actually aiming for? Are you trying to? Are you using birds to locate it? You going to regular grounds?
Yeah, so we thought when they came in,
Because like this
in the
one
early-
here, Aaron, go to that, come down one
Look at those
with
birds,
the birds.
That's the one with me getting rather excited.
Go on!
So you're not that far out. You can still see land.
Go on! Madness, absolute madness, isn't it?
It's nuts. Like it is nuts. It's hard to explain to people when I'm out there.
But just look at the bird life.
Go on!
Yeah. See, so I last. What would have been your season 2? I went to the boat show and I invested in some self-stabilising binoculars.
Yeah.
Changed, best 500 quid I've ever spent. Changed the game, and that's what I was more trying to find the birds.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a bit of a, you see them and you get there and they're still too far down, you can't get to them yet, but when you've got those birds going in and you've got the fish coming up, it's...
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously learning all the time with these things, but yeah, if you, there was one particular day, we were speaking with another skipper, we're going out to the west of Plymouth, we get 5-6 mile off, and I just see probably 5 gannets.
Yeah.
Absolutely steaming off to the east.
Yeah.
And I just said to him, I thought, there's a reason they're doing that.
Yeah.
And followed them for nearly 2 hours before we found where they were getting to. I mean, they had gone and they were out of sight, but I thought, I'm just staying on this bearing. We're going to keep our eyes peeled, see if we can find something. And it was that day that Mark had the 27, we had 14. And yeah,
That was
just
quite
went,
early in the season, wasn't
Yeah.
it? That wasn't a particularly...
yeah, that was just before they came up your way, actually.
Yeah, I think that was the second migration, because we had a lot of small ones last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
The big ones definitely weren't about in the numbers we've had in previous years. I don't know if it's a bad thing. You know, I'd like to know where those big things are, but they've definitely been breeding on the plus side for. But we caught them just before anybody else knew they were there. I hadn't actually got on the commercial boat at that stage. I might have been on my own boat, but we were out there just all to ourselves.
Yeah.
There wasn't another boat. None of the chart boys had cottoned on. I think somebody let out the bag in the end. But me and Sean had a couple of days out there all to ourselves, and it was nuts. I've never seen, because the big fish. Yeah, you got those busts, but these smaller fish, I think there was a much bigger shoal of them going through, and they were just eating everything.
Anything that went past.
Yeah, anything that went past. Yeah, we're finding gar, sprat, cuttle, like all sorts of things inside of them. Like this last year, it was, yeah, they were hoovering up. So how did season 2 change for you from season 1? What had you taken away from that first season to go, okay, now I feel like I'm an experienced tuna skipper at this stage?
It'd be nice to think I was that. Well, it was fine tuning things.
Okay.
So we got more efficient at running the gear out, so putting it out when once we'd located what we were after. We'd actually spent less time towing in season 2. We were more targeting.
Right, okay.
So we're in the first year we'd tow for hours, moving around until we found something. Whereas season 2 we moved very much more to those lures aren't going into the water until we know.
You see something.
Yeah.
I'm fishing on site of
Yeah.
X.
Yeah, so we did that a lot more. So yeah, it's just fine tuning a lot of it, and getting the gear out of the water quickly. Once we've got a few on, a few times we'd had 3 at a time, which was a bit nerve wracking getting multiple hookups.
Did you lose any when you had 2 or 3 hookups at the same time? Is it all just
No, that
did you
was.
have a drill for that as you went?
Yeah, so we I've done this with showing other people and that were struggling with it as well. Is very much have a drill before you go, run through your routine, make sure everything runs smoothly. 'Cause it's not a type of fishing you can just go out and think I can do that.
I'm going to wing it.
Yeah, we'll make it up as we go along. You'll soon find the weaknesses doing that.
Yeah. Well, that's why the military do drills all the time, don't they?
Absolutely.
They just, repetition. You just go into autopilot.
Yeah, well, any industry does, don't they? Go in blind for anything, and this especially. They'll beat you up if you're not.
They'll find a weak spot.
Yeah.
So how did the catch rate do compared to season 1 to season 2?
Went through the roof. Yeah, I'd said in the first year I'd be happy if I get double figures, because it was a new fishery to us.
Yeah.
Never done anything like it apart from a few bait fishing times. So yeah, I said if we get double figures of tuna in season 1, I'll be cartwheeling.
What did you finish with?
I think it was 38, something like that in the first year.
You blew that out of the water.
Yeah, so I was absolutely ecstatic with that. I know others have been doing it longer and catch more in that first year, but that for me was just fantastic.
You have to start somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Everybody has to start. As we are sat in this room with a podcast, I can vouch for it. You have to start somewhere. You've just got to go and do it, haven't you? And go through the motions in learn on your feet. So how did that knock up to season 2?
In season 2, I forget the numbers exactly, but it was something like 3 times the amount. Yeah, certainly more than double in the same number of trips.
How many trips are you doing in a season?
30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're mixing it in with other trips.
Yeah,
so sharking, people still want to go do a bit of wreck fishing or reef fishing or...
Yeah, and we didn't know each year that you were getting a licence until
2 weeks
really
before.
late. So yeah, I think in one year it was March, and then it was like almost June.
Last year was late, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was no...
It's like now we don't know what's happening this year. So we'd love to leave mid-August to December completely clear and go tuna fishing, but if we don't get a licence, we can't do that. So we're not.
I can't believe it's mad that if you've had no problems, as a boat, you've been following all the criteria and rules, that you just don't automatically get your licence reset.
Yeah, I mean,
on this season.
They've if you look on the MMO site, they've said there is a priority list, isn't there?
For this year, because they're changing it up with the recreational.
Yeah.
They're going to let some more charter boats in, aren't they?
Yeah, more charters, and they've ring fenced.
You're going to get the first dibs.
Supposedly so, yeah. So, but it's a case of until you've got that paper copy of your license, you haven't got a license.
Yeah.
So, as much as we're expecting to get it, nothing's guaranteed until you've got it in your hand, is it?
Have you been taking bookings though, just because?
Provisional.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So we, but the issue there again is we've got people that want to travel either abroad or down from Scotland or whatever, and they want digs for it as well. And if we can't take them tuna fishing, that kind of puts pay to their plans, doesn't it?
If you voice these concerns across to the higher powers, does it just fall on deaf ears, or or they just not got the power to do it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit unfair to say deaf ears. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes to get this licence for us.
Yeah.
There are people in many organisations, like the Angling Trust, for example, that are just constantly in meetings and talking.
One.
Yeah. So there's plenty of people that are putting a lot of effort in so that we can have this. Have these licences. It's not just a
one-stop organisation you're going to.
I mean, this year it's had to go through Parliament and all sorts, isn't it?
Yeah.
And both houses in order to get the licence. So
How would you feel then? I mean, you touched on it a little bit there. With there being the recreational side of it. How would you feel? Obviously, you've gone through here how hard it was for you guys to set up and the trials and tribulations and how you learned. If they open this up now, they will.
We've said I've certainly said from day one, I would love to see a more open recreational fishery, but I'd like to see it licensed.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting about. How are they going to manage? You said you had a lot of hoops to jump through and paperwork. So if Joe Blogg's got a big enough sized boat, I guess they run the risk of making it too hard, and guys just going to do it anyway, and then obviously being undergun, not the right gear, not the right training. How do they? That's a big thing to deal with, the management side of it. And how do you think that will affect you guys that are doing it?
How easy is that to criticise the people that are making these decisions now? When
Very easy, but it's
and if you don't get it, then it's a corrupt system. It's all a load of crap, and it's all somebody else's fault. They've been gifted a ticket, and so on. We've said from day one, let's have more recreational input. Let's get private boats in have it. Why shouldn't they have a go at it? Let's get other charter boats in. Let's really let everyone access it like they do any other fishery. But the training side beforehand, it really opened my eyes to, this is what you need to do. These things demand respect. Once you've caught it, I mean, anyone can go and catch one. They're not difficult to catch.
No.
The difficult bit about it is knowing absolutely 100% that when you let that lip grip go, it swims off and it's going to survive. And that's the bit I would love to see training on when they open up this fishery. To the extent I've put on our website that will offer that kind of training to anyone that wants it.
I was going to bring that up because we actually spoke about this the other night when we bumped into each other. You've put a sort of like a training program together, haven't you? You've come up with something. Is that going to be something that you're going to go to the higher powers with and just say, look, I've got this course, we can put people through it? Or is it just you're willing to do something for free on the boat to show people?
We have submitted it to the MMO, to DEFRA. On the close of chart, the DEFRA representative said, look, no one's offering anything like this, so if anyone wants to, it would be a really good idea. So I wrote I've written courses in teaching, so I wrote this one. I'm also a Sport England angling coach, so fair bit of background with training and teaching side of things. 3 years on successful chart seasons. Put all that together, made a course for them, and said, here, if you want it, there it is. And it's gone very quiet.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you on it. Like, I'm very pro recreational fishery. It's somebody that didn't do a whole bunch on the chart, sort of self-taught himself out there, for good or for bad. I've been through what can go wrong and what happens in these sorts of things. Like, if you're strapped into one of those black magic harnesses and you've got your clutch set wrong, and that fish just decides you've got it up alongside the boat and it just goes, fuck you. If you're not ready, you're going in after that thing and you ain't going to be jet skiing across the top.
No.
You are going to be taking a terrible ride somewhere you don't want to be. And it's a lot of these recreational boats don't have the gunnels and stuff that you've got on your coded boats. Like, one of the things I was reading, they're going to let people up the minimum size of a boat's 5 meters. I think that's too small. I don't think somebody in a Warrior 165 or something is really going to be in the boat.
Because I've heard it in the shop. I mean, guys coming in, they don't know fully what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, but they walk in and they see the gear and they're like, yep. And they've got little Orkneys, and they think they whether they are allowed to or not, they're going out.
Yeah, there is a massive can't tell me what to do on my own boat brigade out there. Now, that's all right, fine, but if they understand how to look after the fish once they've caught it, I've got less of a problem with it. Yeah. We had a customer come on board, and this was bragging. This was really he was really proud of this fact, and I can remember just staring at him and waiting for the punchline. He said, well, we went out and we got smashed up 5 times on the same day. And I was like,
yeah, we've had
and you're telling me this? And
they're proud of it, yeah.
Okay, so what did you do different the second time? Oh, nothing.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean? You're happy that
they're rocking
a fish out there with a 6.0 reel full of line trailing behind it, not once but 5 times in a day, and you think that's a good thing. And that's the bit why I wrote that training program and why I offer it on the boat there. I've saying to you before, wasn't I? One of the local charter boats, he was having a bit of a struggle in 1 year. Yeah. Now I should be competing with him for trade, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
But jumped on with him day before a charter, went through all his gear, tweaked a few bits for him, told him to pack some of it away and leave it there and never touch it again.
But that's what it needs, though. That's absolutely what it needs.
Went through drills on the boat with him. And that following day when he went out, he was fishing, quarter of a mile from us. He had a double hook up, his first one, and he got both fish to the boat. Both of them tagged, both of them recovered, both of them away.
But as it stands at the minute, then, with the potential potentially going to be coming, what's in place at the minute? Nothing.
Don't mistake my course as being a way to get on to.
Of course, no.
It's there very much as a. If you want to learn how to do it, I'm happy to show you what we've been taught. I was shown how to do it. It's not stuff that I've all,
Because as a skipper, to be on the chart program, you had to go through training. You and
Absolutely.
the crew had to go through training.
Yeah.
And so before we do that, what did that training look like for you? What did you have to go through?
Well, there were some things right the way down to basic crimping. There was a station on our day of how to crimp.
So you were off to a classroom somewhere, or
Yeah, we were in. There was a couple of training places, one in Weymouth, one in Falmouth. They hired out big halls for the day. We were down in the Maritime Museum.
Okay.
So we took out one of their big lecture theatres there, and it was like a big carousel of different stations. One was about crimping, one was about the harnesses and how bent butts give you a different type of leverage to straight butts, and then we looked at rail mount and chair gear and so on. We had a tagging station, so it was a bit strange tagging a loin of pork on a skateboard being moved about like that, and you're chasing it with the tagging stick.
it's not a bad simulation, though, is it?
Yeah, it's better than just going, well, there it is, just pop it in.
Yeah, here's a sandbag, stand that. Yeah, no, at least they've thought of it.
Yeah, so even just the pressure to get through a loin of pork with the skin on and so on, with a straight tagging bar. That changed in the third year. We went to hammer tags instead of straight poles. That was a lot easier to get that in the right place. And
Did that come from feedback through the skippers?
yeah, that was through a couple of the skippers that had trialled them, and then we all. I think pretty much all of us went across. So much easier with a hammer bar for tagging.
Right, okay.
What else did we look at? There was one of the skippers was showing us about like tying doubles, like biminis and so on. Yeah. So that was pretty good. So we went through all of that. Then trolling techniques, how to what sort of manoeuvres you're going to be doing with the boat, how to restrain them. So they call them lip hooks, not gaffs. So lip hook through the thin membrane at the bottom. They accepted the boga style grips as well.
I've noticed you've got boga style and lip grip there.
Yeah.
What do you prefer?
The grip.
Yep.
I prefer. It's once you've got your eye in with those, they're really easy. But if you watch somebody that's never used one, especially while the boat's still moving, you're trying to. You've got your crewman holding on to the trace while you're still reviving the fish before the lip grip goes on. If you watch somebody who's never used one of those before, it's
They're not the lightest things, are they?
no. And for us, because we're driving on the starboard side, that's where all my fish are leaded. It's all left hand on the trigger as well. And if your boat's rigged up the other way, which when I've taken a different crewman out with me, he's used to doing it the other side, right hand. Suddenly put it in his left hand.
Got the alien, yeah.
He's like, what am I doing? Took it off him and do it myself. But there's we had quite an intense 2 sort of long days down there going through.
So again, I'm going to go back to the privateer side of it, the recreational. Unhooking a fish or getting a fish safe to the side of the boat. How has the government deemed that Joe Blogg's public's going to learn this?
Right, so
because obviously they can't just give you all of the tickets and you allow them to get yanked off the side of the boat.
So
where's their element of this side of the training, because it's not easy.
Yeah, so there's no formal requirement to have to do the training this year. I think that's a timing issue. So we've only just passed it through Parliament, haven't we? That they're going to open it. So to now insist that you're going to have training. Now, do you get people to do the training before they get a license, or do you wait until they've issued the licenses and they've done all those checks and then you insist on training? The timing, I think, has been the big problem.
Personally, I think that it should be you get your license, then you've got to go and have your training.
Yeah,
And if you get a bit of a shorter season this year, well, you train for next season, so you're going to get your license. And if anybody else that comes into it in the following year has got to go through the same process as you. I think that's the...
Yeah, I agree. I think there should be training. I'd love to see everybody that wants a license get a license. Go out and do it. You know, it's there. It's fantastic. It's what angling's all about. Every aspect of it. But yeah, my only fear is the lack of training on fish care once you've got it. Now,
because you see people fucking up catching a pollock, let alone catching a 200-pound
everything. I mean, we all make mistakes, don't we?
Yeah.
And it's always when some fucker's got a bloody camera on you that you make a mistake.
Social media again, it goes back to it's nothing's hidden anymore.
Yeah,
so.
but there is I saw a post the other day on social media about a group that have got training and they're offering it out and so on. So yeah, I don't, because there's no formal requirement. There's nothing saying you have to do it, but they are encouraging.
Of course, yeah.
Are you sort of putting your own one up on YouTube?
No, I want to do it not training across a classroom or whatever. I want people on the boat and see how it's done. So go out before the season starts. You know, no hooks in the stingers. Show you how to deploy it, how to recover it once you've got the stuff. Get it out of the way while you're fighting one. How does your skipper, your crew, and your angler all interact with each other? Because you can't just have, you know, a free for all. There's got to be a
sheer panic.
Yeah, there's got to be a chain involved in how you're going to be, where the fish is going to be fought.
Like you said earlier about there's a process to this.
Yeah,
it's a step-by-step process, and when it all goes to shit and panic, and if you don't have that process,
and the even just the communication. If you've got a crewman, a couple of anglers, and a skipper, and everybody starts shouting, it's like, which one am I listening to? I'm on the wheel.
Yeah,
who am I listening to?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, even when, like I was saying before, we had the cameras in the first year that were recording absolutely everything. Now, you've always got the anglers want to record everything, haven't you?
Everyone's phone comes out.
All the phones are there.
All that sort of stuff, yeah.
But when it came to restraint and tagging, one of the absolute red line rules was you don't film that. The anglers are not to film them being restrained or being tagged.
The actual process of putting the grips on,
or the hook through, and the process of tagging. Now, in part, if you think of just the slightest little puff of blood.
The anti-angler brigade.
And somebody photographs this, and it's got this big red cloud. I mean, just a thimble of blood in the water.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it a lot. You still see it a lot in America, where they catch a lot of the smaller species of tuna, and they stick on the boat, and they've got obviously mostly white boats. It's a bloodbath. And if you look at it from externally from the angling scene, non-anglers and the animal rights guys and all that sort of stuff, they look at that, and all they see is a bloodbath.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, I mean, see that great thing I thought about Chart was it wasn't just put together by the data collecting side of it. I mean, you had animal welfare input into it, DEFRA input to it, Natural England were there. Everyone had an input into it, and if you look at the proposed dead loss when they put the program out at like 5% of the quota or whatever the number was.
It's quite a high number, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like tonnage-wise.
And when we came to the end of the third year, the number was anywhere near what they proposed in the first year over 3 years.
Because it's quite a large amount they've put for the recreational licence this year, isn't it? I thought it was high.
Yeah.
I was like, how many?
Yeah, do we really need that much?
No, I just don't think
but it's a case of, with the quota, if you don't use it, you don't get it again.
You're going to lose it.
Yeah. It's like
end of year budgets for the council.
Budgets in industry, isn't it? If you don't spend it, you ain't getting it next time.
So almost spend more, so you make sure you get more next time. Yeah.
So then, when you rolled into year 3, then now you are fully clued up, legit, ready to go. Were there any tweaks you made in year 3?
Do you know when you think, just am I doing anything different? You probably think no, I didn't. But then when somebody says to you, this happened on the boat, or we've gone past it several times and we've not caught what's going on, there must be lots of little tweaks that we've made. But
that muscle memory that you don't realise you're doing it because it's
nature. But one thing I was told a couple of times was if I wasn't catching, I wanted to change stuff. I want different size bars, different colour squids, different stingers, weight them, float them.
Yeah.
And I'd disappear up my own arse with the number of things I was changing. And
easy
other
to get
skipper
like that,
would
though.
say, just stop. You know what you've got works.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing works.
We get exactly that in bass lure fishing. You've got
Yep.
the guy that's in and out of his box all day long, doesn't get him any more fish.
Yeah.
And then the guy that sticks with his black minnow all day long because he knows it works and maybe quite at the minute, but all of a sudden spanks him. So I fully get that because we get it in the lure fishing for bass as well. Identical.
Yeah, the other thing I saw a lot was, I mean, you see those big busts that are going off. You don't want to get too close to them. You hook up in that bust and it runs through that bust. Then the next fish that comes by hits the line with a tail or mouth open, whatever. You're going to lose the lot. But we were actually catching more fish between busts.
Yeah, so we found it on this. We'd come up quite close to it, and the trick was we'd get like you said, we wouldn't go anywhere near it. And as we were getting off, I don't know, it's hard to gauge. 500 yards, all of a sudden one would rattle off.
Yeah.
That was always the key in case.
I always wondered if it was like a Formula One driver. When he's looking at his gauges and his focus is here, all of that's gone. His
If they're
focus is
dialed in
there.
on bait, there's only one thing they've got on their mind at that time.
Exactly.
They're
But if he's
dialed in.
transiting from one bus to another, he's not looking here anymore,
No,
is
he's
he?
looking for where
He's
yeah.
out there. And I wonder if that's why we catch
I
him.
think you'll bang on the money with that. It's a conversation I had a few times last year on the boat. We had more, we called them blind strikes. You know, you just
Yeah, but you wouldn't have lures in the water if it was a blind strike,
but
would you?
you would have just left something like that.
Yeah.
And the guys I was with, they'd want to go do a circle around it. I'm like, no. Just keep a straight line going this way. And you'd be like, bzzz, and then
I guess they've actively turned away and grabbed rather than it just being madness, and it just could be your lure is lost in amongst the madness, whereas you're getting a fish that is actively chosen to target that specific lure. Yeah, that makes sense.
You can see that a lot in the videos, or hundreds of people are putting videos up now, aren't they?
Yeah.
When you see the lure skipping along, next thing just erupts. And there's hoofing great fish coming out with the lure in his mouth.
Yeah, I know what you mean about swapping and changing. The only thing that I really started doing different last year was going to a weighted or floated stinger. I won't go into it too much, but there was a reason behind it that I started to sort of come across, and I was like, you know, in making that change, definitely brought some extra fish.
Okay.
But it was only, we'll talk about it afterwards. I don't want to give anyone too many ideas. But I had much of an open conversation.
So
Buy my stingers.
Yeah, well, no, it had, and I'll tell you what, it had nothing to do with the colours. It was either weighted or floated, and I was just trying to pull them under a little bit more. That's all it was down to. It could have been any colour, although we did have a good run on some 9-inch blacks, but that's...
So with when you're targeting them, you've caught quite a few now. What was the over the, let's say, last 3 seasons? We touched on a little bit about sizes of fish. Have you noticed a pattern like?
Yeah. So last year we had a lot more smaller fish.
Yep.
It almost feels wrong calling them smaller fish, you know, so 100 to 200.
What we're used to.
Yeah, the first couple of years we had a lot more sort of 80-inch plus fish. And then this last year we saw lots of small fish.
Yeah. More fish. Definitely, I would say we had more fish up here than the previous season.
Certainly further up to the east where you guys are.
Yeah. A ridiculous amount of fish, but nothing of the stamp that we had come to get used to. Our fishery is that good that within 3 years we're already whinging about sub 200 pound fish. You know, that's just how good it is.
What do you think was the big? I mean, you said what was the biggest you've landed?
110 inches is our biggest.
And what, by seeing fish bust, I know it's hard to tell the difference. Have you seen any like considerably bigger?
Yeah.
You see them, don't you? You're looking, and it's just this black shape comes across, and you're like,
For some of the ones I've seen, I mean, I've seen a few out and about, and I know a big fish when I see one, and we've seen a few when we've been out on the bass boats moving out, and they've come through thinking, fucking hell, look at that, and it's staggeringly bigger than what I know was a big fish. You know?
Yeah. So the first time I took Grant from Hook Point magazine out.
We're going to get Grant on. So.
Oh, superb. Yeah. Cracking book. First time I took him out for a tuna, I actually phoned him up and cancelled the trip. And he said, "Oh, we're in the car. We're an hour and a half down the motorway
Was it
already."
a weather thing, was it?
Yeah, and he said, "Well, do you mind having a look?" And I thought, well, okay, if you've invested coming down, I was trying to save you the effort and so on, but we'll go and have a look. And I said, but I want you to say if you're not happy as we're going, and if I'm not happy, I'm turning around and coming. But as it was, thankfully, it was just a massive swell. There was very little sea on top of it.
Right, okay.
And to the extent that we were actually coming down the swell and we were looking up at tuna from the boat, and we were watching them swim underneath the lures. And some of those fish that we saw go underneath our lures, we were like, I don't think I want to hook that.
Crazy, isn't it?
When was that? Last year?
No, that was year two. No, that was year two. I think year
So
two.
year 2, me and Sean were out. And we were out by the radar buoy, and we were both doing some spotting. And this thing come out of the water, and we both turned to each other at the same time, and we're like, "Did you just see that?" Yeah. Is that as big as I thought it was? And he's like, "Yeah, I reckon so." Like, it's just never got anywhere near it, but there are some absolute monsters rolling around.
Yeah, there's other stuff in amongst them as well, which is really cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you literally just took one out there. One of my questions I was going to ask was, when we got onto this side of it, is what else do you see?
Right, should we try and phase that in as a sideway?
Yeah. So you've got right, Kev. Tell me, please tell me. So obviously things are changing. We now get tuna around our shores, which 15 years ago you would have laughed.
Some other species that you've brought up as well from the mess.
So when you're going out and you'll say predominantly you're tuna fishing, what else are you seeing out there that's been pretty cool? Because I've heard of wahoo maybe potentially being seen, and there's some shark boys a couple of years ago said they reckon they saw wahoo by the bars. I mean, I've heard of potentially Spanish mackerel, things like this. Adam Kirby and that lot saw sailfish. So and they videoed it. It was on Facebook. So what else have you seen?
So we threshers are probably my favourite. Seeing as you're towing the lures along and you see the tail swiping down through it. We've had that quite a lot. We had one take the outside wing squid as well, run off with it. So I thought we'd hooked it, and just bit the squid off. But there was one particular day seeing two fins up on the surface, just sort of wobbling like that, and the shape of them I just couldn't figure out what it was. The front fin was a sickle, so the only thing that got into my head was this has got to be a sword, but just total disbelief. It can't be. It's a load of nonsense. It's not. But drove up as close as I dared get to it.
This is why you're trolling bars.
Yeah, well, we got bars in the water there, and got the idea was to have a look, see what it is, and then see if we can get the lures around and pass over it. And got closer than I thought I was going to. Looked over and then thought, that's why I couldn't identify what it was. The front fin was the pectoral fin of a dolphin, and the back fin was its tail on its side. So, and the reason
Chilling in the water.
No. This unfortunately, this is one that's clearly been in a trawl. It had rope around its tail where it had been lifted out. So, but the reason why it was wobbling is because there was a little mako shark chomping on its ass. So right on the wrist of the tail, it's munching away on it. Shark no bigger than £100, but he's having a whale of a time munching away on this bloody poor dead dolphin. So,
crazy, isn't it?
But yeah, that had everything going, and it's like bloody Bigfoot spotting, isn't it? You see a shadow go by. Yeah, I swear blind, I saw a Bigfoot.
I'll see if I can get it on Adam Kirby's page.
I've had
the sword.
Yeah, the sword thing is a repeating one.
Yeah, and
I know some of the Irish. I've heard about some of the Irish boys catching them. And there's rumours of them being somewhere off the bottom of us on one of the big shelves.
Fantastic.
But if the tuna are here, you've just got to ask the question: what is going to be the next thing that turns up?
It'd be so cool, wouldn't it, if they do?
I mean, like I've heard of the guys saying that they were buzzing around and they've seen 5 foot long, what they thought were Spanishes, but they had direct blue, multiple bars, which is a wahoo, and they've tried to take pictures of them. As quick as they come in, they've gone again. I'm going to try and find the swordfish.
We've had Almaco jacks and Pompano or something.
Have you caught any of them?
No, we haven't. In the nets, we've seen them on the quayside.
Right. Okay.
There was an albacore in one of the marinas last year, just having a swim.
Yeah, Solcombe had them for a little bit. I heard on the grapevine. I don't know how, don't know why or where, or they were down that way.
But again, if we can get some of those on the cars, that'd be great.
I was coming back across the Scaries one evening, and something come out of the water. Again, it's like Bigfoot. Something came out on the water on the right hand side of me.
That's the swords that they saw.
Bloody hell!
Yeah.
Whose Facebook's that?
Adam Kirby.
Can you stick it up on the screen?
I can't, but I can.
Aaron can't he?
I could probably. How would it be best to do that?
Did you look on his Facebook, or is that a WhatsApp picture he sent you?
No, it's in his Facebook, but it's I've had to dive deep into it, know what I'm looking for.
Okay,
but basically,
don't worry.
but that is 100% swords. You know,
It's awesome.
Nothing's 100%.
Yeah, no,
It certainly looks like it, doesn't it?
Oh, it bloody does on that front, doesn't it? Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and where was this?
It was they're more Solent based way, but they do travel around a fair bit. But they were swimming around right in front of them, you know. They'd seen them with their eyes to the point where they've got that clear photograph of it, you know.
Wowzers.
I can't wait. In another
Somebody's-
5 years, we could just be in a whole. We could be the new Gulf of Mexico. You know.
But Adam Kirby and Dan, those guys that were there, those guys that they have quite a bit with the UK lure teams. They've done a lot of the boat comps, the big boat comps. I've spoken to them about coming on here, so that would be something that we can definitely talk about as an episode because they both said they'd love to come on because they're a team. They fish together or everything, and they've said they'd love to come on and talk about British fishing and all sort of stuff. So that'd be a great guest.
Like I said from day one, this is a platform for everyone. I just want to promote as much fishing for the UK as we can do.
Yeah, that's what we need, and get rid of the kind of competition between or whatever, and just work together. Get
It doesn't all have to be
much people out
competition. You know, it's fishing can be a competition. Like there's nothing more when you're on a boat with your mates. We've spoken about this. Even when me and my mates are feathering up mackerel, who's got the most mackerel on the line at one time? Like we'll even have that as a comp. But the whole day is just an absolute laugh. Like at the end of the day, I don't really give a shit if he's caught a bigger bass or he's done this. It's about the day out as a whole is a much more important thing. It's fishing gets way too politicised all the time. There's all these, like you said, there was one in the first year of charts. There was 14 boats in one boat. You know?
Yeah.
Should have been 15 boats all doing the same thing. Although you're all in business, there's enough fish out there to go around. Of
course there is.
Between everybody.
Yeah.
So what do you think this season's going to hold for you? Have you got any plans for changing it up, or is it going to be back to what you've done on the previous years?
Well, we will have the default of the bars, bars and strings or whatever you call them, purely because that opens up multiple catches. So if you've got individuals, you've got a greater chance of catching several, and it also opens up the fishery to more abilities.
Yeah.
So we've had. I mean, my little son, he's tiny anyway, bless him. But he's had one of the bigger tuna out of the port, and he's 5 foot nothing. I know it's tall for you. But a young lad's had one a couple of years ago. We've had customers that are 80 plus.
There's no doubt those
catching.
bars slow that fight down.
Absolutely, and it makes it far more accessible, doesn't it?
For the purist, maybe not so much in the long run, but
Indeed, yeah.
for entry to market is the way to go.
It's got to be the go-to, isn't it, for your first go at it? We'll do bait fishing for them again. We've had them chunking, we've had them on Shark Gear, so we'll.
Do they let you do that on the charts?
Dead bait, yeah.
No live bait.
No live bait at all. No, the part of I think it was Natural England, was saying you can't put another animal under undue stress and whatever to target the one that you want to tag. So it was dead baits only.
Did you do much of that?
Not a lot, no.
Just because the bars were easier to get.
Yeah, once we've kind of dialed into how it works and been shown what to do with them and how to do it.
Thought about breaking out the poppers?
No, we've had so many calls this year about people wanting to popper for it, and I've sort of asked the owner, look, can we do it as if they've got their own kit, then they're invested in it, they're going to be capable of doing it.
Those popping rods and reels are almost expensive as setting yourself
Exactly.
up.
So if you've got that kind of kit already,
it's £1,500 exercise to get yourself a decent set of popping gear.
And there's going to be every likelihood if you've done that because you've
got the right gear. Yeah.
You
get a 20k stereo on those Zanak rods we were saying about. I mean, you're not fucking around with that. That's
and
gear.
you're going to be capable of using it, aren't you?
Yeah.
Whereas the have-a-go hero would say, yeah, I want one on a popper, and they'd probably gas out in the chair or something, you know.
Yeah, will do.
What we
Is this a different...
are completely different.
That bar really does mask a lot of the fight.
Yeah, I mean,
so much drag, it tires the fish out, it's just a different...
The second guy that ever had a tuna on our boat is an absolute mountain of a bloke. He is just incredibly fit. I mean, to the extent the 14-man life raft that we used to have on the cabin, we've got two now, but the individual 14-man life raft, to get it off for servicing, I'd climb up onto the cabin, I'd manoeuvre it onto my lap, and I'd slide down the wheelhouse, and then two of us would shuffle it into a trolley to move it. He straight arm picks it up. He's an absolute beast. Now, the second tuna we ever had on the boat was just free lining a live bait, and he had that one. And come the end of the fight, he was on his knees. Once we got to the point the fish is restrained and we're doing it, he was completely gassed. He was out for it.
How long was that fight?
Hour and 25, 30 minutes.
It's no fucking joke, is it? Though, I mean, and I think that's what I think that's going to be an eye opener to the recreational. It is no joke. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you hear stories of people have been hooked into them for several hours at a time, and you see it on those commercial programs in America, don't you? Where they've had several hour fights and so on. Now, if you're going to keep the fish, then that doesn't matter. But if you're going to revive it and let it go, then you need sub-hour fights, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
I genuinely, if you gave me a popping rod and a 70+ inch fish took it, I don't think I'd do it myself. I think I'd be gassing through that. I have to pass the rod over.
Tag teaming, yeah.
When I first started doing this, I was gassing out just with bars. It's not. The arm pump you get is absolutely ridiculous.
See, if you're doing that, that's what I was saying earlier on, wasn't it? When people say that they've done loads of it, you put them in a harness and a rod and get them to almost sit back as I'm doing now.
You pivot off your knees. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You use your legs and your arse and your lower back. Then you're not using your arms, and your arms don't get tired.
It's just that winding of the reel. You just, in the early days, absolutely done me.
Yeah.
Now,
you get a technique.
I'm conditioned for it. Well, I've got a big weight system at home, as you can probably tell. We just connect the rod to it, and we just do loads of this. Just getting ready.
Hench as fuck.
Yeah. Can't you tell? Abs and everything over here. So it's just going to be this. So this season then for Crusader is going to be tuna, and then going through the normal process of the other trips that people want.
Yeah, so we've. I mean, the calendar's looking quite healthy as it is. So there's lots of other stuff in there. So we're sharking, we're doing the swims with the sharks, general fishing, all of that's going on. And then as people, especially if we get the license come through, then we'll fill in.
Mate. Absolutely no doubt.
That's the hope, but as I say, until you've got that piece of paper in your hands,
that ticket.
Yeah, it's.
How much uptake do you get on swimming with sharks?
This year is our first year where we've actually now got more swims with sharks than fishing for them. And it's obviously taken off because I know they say imitation's the greatest form of flattery, don't they? There's other places doing lots more shark swims.
Were you the first ones to do it?
I think so. First one we did was 11 years ago. And I don't know. Out of Plymouth. Yeah, I don't know of anyone else over that time.
Remember, I mean, it's not on your scale, but I remember, and you've got pictures he's gone out with you, is Aaron Barrett.
Yeah.
And he took that one on the back of...
Yeah, when he did his photo shoots with him and himself and the camera with the blues coming right up to him, it got so much mileage. I mean, it was everywhere, wasn't it? So I can see why people wanted to. I mean, it's something I'd love to do,
Oh, it's brilliant. I've not done it myself yet. Which is again a bit, but it's brilliant though. It's a nice little thing for the customers when they get on and say, "Are you coming in?" It's like, "No, there's sharks in there."
The sharks down there, and there's blood in the water. No chance, absolutely.
But it's amazing to see how inquisitive they are. I mean, we've got.
I got that from some of the Fish Lockers videos when I've been consuming some of his stuff on. He does a lot of sharking.
Yeah.
Like, fair play to the bloke, for someone that's gone out there to build a YouTube channel on fishing. He's put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah.
For whatever people want to say, that he's gone and done that, and he talks about how inquisitive they are when they come, because he keeps his chum bag in a bucket now,
Right.
because he says the amount of times they swim up the side of the boat and start biting.
We've lifted them out of the water on the end of the chum bags where they've just grabbed hold and won't let go.
Because it wrecks your chum trail, doesn't it? 'Cause
Yeah.
it just bites open. It fucking just goes
All
absolutely
goes off.
everywhere.
Yeah, it's like throwing sweets into a playground, isn't it?
Do you make all your own chum?
Yeah.
Do you have those bins full of like proper decomposing fish?
No.
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 We process for going in.
So we make our own oils.
Yeah.
To add to it. Go to the horse feed merchants for the 20 kilo bags of bran.
Yeah.
And then we've got Interfish in Plymouth. So any of the mackerel that hasn't met the right grade or whatever, they box up in somewhere between 20 and 30 kilo boxes. So that's all like waste, if you like, from fishing industry, and it just repurposes that. So we just buy a couple of blocks of that at a time. Yeah, we've got boxes of it in the freezer at home, and just take a couple of boxes down, make our chum.
Yeah,
I tried making my own before. I've only done it a couple of times. I was actually pretty successful at it, but I went down the route. I was rotting it out in a bin.
Ah, no.
Well, it was fine because you couldn't smell it until my kid took the lid off the bin, and that smell never leaves you.
No.
Never
Gets
ever
into your
leaves
skin.
you. Yeah, it goes through the house. It wouldn't leave the house.
Popular with the neighbours.
Yeah, oh, well, yeah.
No, it's all fresh stuff. Yeah, we don't have any rotten nasties like that.
Right, okay.
Just
you
nice.
use your oil to add into it to build that.
Yeah, so they put the oil in with it and put the bran in with it just to soak up the oils, and you get a decent spread of the heavier stuff and the floating stuff. Just gives you a nice thick slick with it.
All those things you learn. So, if someone wants to book you, could you just pull up the website a second, please, mate? You got it up there? I'm sure we had it preloaded somewhere.
There she is.
It's a nice boat, isn't it?
Oh, superb boat. So well maintained as well. I mean, if you look at...
How old's that boat?
She's now 17, I think.
You wouldn't think it, would you?
No, when you go inside, it's just
Yeah, I've been in
mint,
there.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it is very, very clean.
A couple of weeks ago, he's there, he ripped all the dash out and did all the rewiring and everything, and people are like, oh my God, have you had problems? He's like, no, I'll do that before the problems happen. So...
It's such a good attitude to have.
Yeah, and yeah, it's absolutely mint. Brilliant.
So what's the best way for somebody to book you?
So you can book through the website. I'll get an email straight from there. On every advert that we put on the on Facebook, that's most popular, I think, through Facebook, and we just put our phone numbers on there and give us a call or send us a message.
So what's that? So for tuna fishing, you can book the full boat for 900.
Yep.
That's up to 4 anglers.
Yeah.
But if somebody wants to go out by themselves and suck up that bill, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, we get that a lot. Yeah.
Happy with that?
People don't want to share. Yeah, that's fine.
That would be me. Like we're doing something with Matt in a minute. I booked the boat, and he turned around at the time. He was like, "Who's coming?" And it was like I said, "Me and Danny." He goes, "Oh, do you want to get another 2 lads on?" No,
No, don't share.
I don't want to share nothing.
Yeah, the majority of our tuna fishing is with less than 4.
Okay.
1 or 2 anglers. But there's quite a few people out there that they don't want to pay the full 900, and they're happy to jump in with others.
And so then the safaris 220. Wildlife tours, what's that? A 4-person group booking 220. What's that? A full day?
Yeah, so we do
coves.
We do 4-hour trips, 8-hour trips, and then further offshore when the tuna and the whales are around. So we get a load of pilot whales turn up.
Yes.
They normally stay off about sort of 30 miles or so.
Okay.
So we do some days where we'll go off further. But yeah, again, those photography tours and the coastal tours, we've got guides on board with us, pro photographers, absolutely stunning work they do. Yeah, and just we've got drone pilot with us as well. So when we see stuff in the distance, if we can't, because we don't go chasing it, because we're being WISE accredited. Part of that is you don't go chasing dolphins and whales and stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to be seen harassing it.
The dolphins are the best bit. They'll just come to you every single time.
Yeah, and there's been a few times where we've not been able to identify some that have just not wanted to interact and they've moved off. So we, drone a couple 100 foot high with a decent zoom on it, and you can go in and see exactly what it is.
And that's all supplied as part of the trip.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all
And then you give them the footage afterwards if they
we
want
can
to.
do if they want it, yeah.
What if I'm going to take my drone when we go out? Matt.
So the drone pilot as well is fantastic. He came out with us while we were tuna fishing to get some footage of the lures and see if we could get a take and so on. And then he said, "Can you stop so we can catch the drone?" So no. If I stop, they sink. That ain't happening.
I got some Tuna Gear ones. Mine don't sink, but you want trying to catch a drone on a boat. So my very first, when I was doing sort of like the promo video that I've got on the Tuna Gear website, is we ended up going down by Slapton, because off of Slapton it goes deep quite quick and there's no pots, no buoys, and you can go up and down there on a nice quiet day. There's nobody about, so I got my videographer to go and sit on the beach with the drone, and I just sat out a little bit because he will not fly a drone from a boat because he stuck his finger up to catch it and almost took his finger off, he reckons. Matt, I think you're being a pussy, but so we were doing it from Slapton. But I got that idea because we got my mate with his drone. We came out of Dartmouth, and I was just like, right, I'm going to chuck a bar over the back, fly your drone, and let's see if we can get some like proof of concept. The only way we could get that drone back on the boat was we just flew it into the back of the boat. Like so where I've got my roof come down, I've got sort of like these canvas canopies, like plastic windows coming through, and we just drove it straight into that. There's two of us hanging around on the back of the boat it's going all over the place. In the end I was like, just crash it, mate. He's like, it's not your drone to crash. I was like, well, you can crash it into that nice like canvas sheet, or you can dunk it in there. Yeah. Okay, now I'll stick it into that.
So yeah, learning curves. The Connery sits on the ice box there when he's going to come and land it, and he's watching his, he's got his phone on top of the thing, and he's flying it in, and it's there. And he just looks up, grabs it, turns it upside down, it switches off, job done. It's like he's been doing it for decades, and you just, that'll do. Oh, yeah. Absolutely brilliant.
I couldn't do that. Yeah, I'd have ended up. Well, we just crashed it. Matt won't come see with us yet, because I wanted to go out and get some of this on drone. I wanted to get a tuna taking the bar, but I can't talk him into flying the drone off the bar. I think with time. Until I buy you a new drone, it's
I've got one, can't we?
Yeah, we can do that. So how much is just for just a normal charter? If they're going to go fishing at anchor, wrecking for the day, how much is that?
Yeah, so the full boat for a standard distance charter, sort of up to 20 odd miles from Plymouth, is $650 for us.
Okay.
And we generally split that now between 8. So we're licensed for 12 plus 2, but to give everybody the extra room. That was one good thing actually that came out of COVID. People wanted more space. So everyone seems happier just to pay a little bit more and have just 8 on the boat.
But people can take the whole boat for the day if they want. If they want to turn up with a couple of their mates and just have the full experience.
Yeah, again, we've got groups that just like 2s and 3s that just want the boat to themselves.
It's nice having a bit of space.
Fantastic, yeah. If you want to do that.
Yeah. So, and the other thing that they can have, which you've kindly donated. So while you're on there, here we go. This will be going on the wall. How does that look on the camera?
It's good.
I think everybody needs to buy one of those when they're going out fishing. Would you say they are 15 quid?
Yeah, I think we're doing them for 15 this
How
year.
can you not be part of the team with one of these for 15 quid? I mean, the quality, they're lovely.
You're not allowed to wear it though.
I haven't caught a tuna on the boat, so I'm not going to be wearing it. And it's too small for you, so you're not wearing it, so it's going up on the wall.
I didn't want it anyway.
We're going to add it to our thing. It will definitely be hanging in future podcasts. You will be able to
There's
see
too much white in here, I reckon.
There is too much white. We're having a
shirts.
conversation about what we do with this. Matt Forrester very kindly left us his range of his lures out there, his jigs and bits and pieces, and very greedily they were just going to get ushered off into my tackle box. But then I thought, we'll decorate the place up, but we're actually going to end up giving them away, aren't they? On the
Yeah, we're going to do.
we're going to do some shares and likes and some competitions. I'm going to give them away. So hopefully, Matt, if you're listening, I need some more. You can send them my way. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think that's a pretty good breakdown of everything that you do.
Thank you very much.
No, I really appreciate you coming on, mate. It was, as always, I love these conversations with people that have got skin in the game. You've been there, you've done it, and now you don't just want to stand there and fish. You want to pass that love of fishing on to other people.
Exactly. There's nothing better than when they walk off the boat, big grin on their face, either a bag of fillets or even nothing at all if it's all gone back in.
How many do you find actually want to put a lot of it back nowadays instead of it just being a sort of fest?
Yeah, it's happening a lot more. Yeah, I mean, we've always said to them when they're, you hit a wreck and everything's feeding or whatever, it's like, well, is this going to be used? You know, have you got enough now? We don't want to be going in with boxes and boxes and boxes of fish and then it just not getting used.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we've got that sort of thing going on, then we'll go off and do something different. You know, you've got enough fillets now. It's all kept in that big 300-litre ice bin there. It's all cleaned out, filleted down if you want it, packed in ice, and we'll go off.
There's only so many fillets you can take at a time.
Exactly.
You know, you don't want stuff sat in the freezer for months and months. It's just not going to be right when it comes defrost out the other side, is it? It's
exactly. And then, you know, but on the other side to that, there are people that might only come out once or twice a year, so they do want a reasonable stock of it, and that's absolutely fine. But you know, if the stuff's going to be used, then that's fine.
With it.
No problem with it. You know, any kind of hunting, if you're going to kill it, at least do it in the respect of actually using it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, don't just then have it in a motorway bin somewhere on the way home because you.
I am not a big fish eater by any stretch of the imagination, but every time, if I am good, I'm the one that puts everything back. Like, even I've spoken about it before. We've been up with the boys bassing, and I'll have one. And my mate Merv is like, "Whoa, like that's going to look amazing on the barbecue."
Yeah.
He's like, "You."
Well, I do say all the rays go back. You know, they breathe so slowly. I hate the
That
idea of killing them.
really, that you say balls your piss, that really bugs me. With the amount of waste that comes off of those fish,
Yeah.
I cannot understand anybody that wants to take a ray. It just doesn't. I can't even compute it.
Yeah. The other ones that get me is bream. When you see them nesting and they pair up.
Oh, you made me sad in a minute. I've got daughters at home. They've turned me into a white wuss.
Then you go and catch and kill loads of bream. So, I mean, cooches, absolutely zero take on those. And we're seeing more and more of them all the time, I think, because of it. So
I was having that conversation. Well, I was privy to that conversation with Kieran recently. He had what was probably going to be a new record on his boat, and he turned around to the lad that caught it and said, "That is a new record, but we're going to have to kill it. What do you want to do?" And he's like, "Put it back."
yeah, that's good. Well done. Good skipper, good angler. Well,
Well, Kieran. But
that was the same with our that big spur I was on about earlier. There was no question about it when we weighed it and we took the smallest number.
How far over the record were you?
It was 27.3. So I think the record was 24, 25.
Oh, you were,
something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It was clearly over.
Not talking grams, are you? You're talking
No.
pounds.
And the angler, there was no question about it. We took the photos, we did all the measurements, we weighed it on several sets of scales and so on. And straight back, off it went. So,
No, fair play.
Yeah, well, I think more people should be like that. Like you said, I think more people are coming round to it. I think there's a bit more of a transition as well from lads that have been doing a lot of freshwater fishing and now moving across to try that saltwater side of it, and they're all catch and release fishermen. Like, that's where I came from. It's like I can't even. Oh no, I just.
Yeah. So I think we've said. I mean, me and Aaron were talking about it. Funny enough, earlier on, catch and release. It's there for a reason, but as long as you're taking within your limitations and within the legality of it, there's nothing wrong with taking fish.
It's not.
Absolutely nothing. But at the same time, I don't believe in this whole catch release Nazis that are ramming it down your throat. As long as it's within right and it's within regulation, then and like I say, it's not being wasted or just done for shits and giggles or for competitions, then there's nothing wrong with taking no fish from the table and take what you want. As long as you can do it, do it.
It's probably a better quality fish that you're going to pick up.
Yeah, but I also,
in the supermarket.
as much as I catch and release almost everything, I'm not the one that's ramming it down your neck every 5 minutes. And there's no right and there's no wrong with it. As long as you do what's right for you,
Exactly.
That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Totally agree with that.
Well, we'll leave that on a positive then.
Yeah.
Kev, thank you. I do really appreciate that, mate. If you want an amazing day's fishing out of Plymouth, hit up Crusader. It is a great day's fishing. I can speak from experience. Are you heavily booked for the tuna season yet, or are you still taking bookings?
Yeah, we're still taking bookings. Yep,
So
still room there.
If you want to go fishing with one of the original skippers, done all the chart programs, again, guys, go out, book with Crusader.
Yep.
Danny, thank you for joining me as always. Kev,
Yeah,
thanks very
mate.
much.
Thank you for the time.
Please subscribe to the socials. We had a fun fact, didn't we, recently, Aaron? We were breaking this down. We found out that 60% of our listeners weren't subscribed. So
What?
Yeah.
How dare they?
Yeah, I know. I had a little cry when I got home. Please subscribe. It would mean the world. Thanks very much.
Cheers.